a lot of people have trouble with this question. It's a very similar question as number 19, to be honest. It's pretty much the exact same question. The instructions maybe are a little bit more unusual, but they're not different. So I'm going to say my advice here is just follow instructions. That's our strategy. Don't let the weirdness of the instructions bother you, right? It doesn't matter that what they're asking for is like a stupid thing. We just need to give them what they want. So the first instruction here is if Moss-Steller's and Current's formulas give the same estimate for A. So look at these two formulas. If both of them give the same value for A, then they both equal each other. That's it, right? So this is a good example of like the simplest explanation is the best. They're telling you to set these two things equal to each other. That's it. So the square root of HW over 60 is equal to 4 plus W over 30. That's it. Same value means equal. So there you go. Now, for the rest of it, it's also kind of still stupid. What are they asking for? They're asking for the equivalent to radical HW. Now notice that includes W in all of these answer choices. That's unusual. Normally when we have to do these, we're rearranging the formula in a way that we solve for one of the variables. They're not asking us to do that. I don't know why, but I don't care why. It's what they want. I have to give them what they want, follow instructions. And so our job is to solve for this piece right here. So what's getting in the way of that? What's preventing us from just seeing what radical HW is equal to? It's the 60. So what we should do is we should multiply both sides by 60 to make it disappear. And so when I do that, this is another case where I think a lot of you have some bad habits. Don't multiply the 60. Try to get rid of those small numbers, right? Notice that a 60 is really 30 times 2. And if we have a 30 on the bottom and a 30 on the top, they cancel out. So what we're really multiplying is 2 times this whole thing. And so, yeah, I could distribute it, but this is a good example of why you shouldn't like get ahead of yourself and just show every step, right? 2 times 4 plus W is an answer choice. So I don't need to distribute it out. And I think a lot of people sometimes get this wrong because they do distribute it, and then they're like, oh, my answer's not here. Well, yeah, but it's just that they presented it in a different way, and this is a good example of why, don't do things in your head. Anything that you do should be on your page because the SAT could twist up this question all sorts of ways, and you just want to have as many visual reminders of what's going on as possible. It doesn't take long to do it. That's it. That's the whole question. I do want to point out, though, here that a lot of people try to arithmetize on this question, and they try to say, well, I'm going to come up with some values for H and W and do the question that way. It's very, very difficult to do that here for a couple of reasons. First of all, we've got a square root, and that's going to mean that we have to pick numbers that create like an easy situation. We really don't want to be dealing with like the square root of 7 underneath that radical. We don't want to create a bad situation. The other problem, though, is that we're basically solving a system of equations when we do this. And so we're going to need to make sure that we pick numbers that satisfy the original requirement of the question, which is that we need, when we pick numbers for H and W, we need the two A's to come out the same. And that requires a lot of thinking. And that kind of defeats the purpose of arithmetize, right? The whole purpose is to just be able to pick any number and then use it and continue with the question. And so it's doable, but I do not recommend it. I think that it is going to cause more confusion and create more problems than it needs to. And so how would we know that arithmetize wouldn't work here? Basically, anytime we've got an equals with equations, with variables, it's unlikely that we'll be able to arithmetize as easily as normal because it means that there's some sort of constraint. And so, especially if it's just one equation, we need to kind of make sure that we're following the constraint, and that's what causes the problem here. And so we like the freedom to just pick any number, and we don't have that freedom here because there's just too many things going on. Hopefully that is a decent explanation. I mean, here's the deal. If you did try to arithmetize by picking things like 0 and 1, it would fail very quickly. And that's why I like the arithmetize strategy, and that's why I like to pick numbers like 0 and 1, because you can just be like, well, it didn't work. I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm going to guess some answer and then move on and worry about this question later. And that's an okay thing. If the arithmetize is going to fail, at least it fails quickly, and then you can go and do some other stuff where it won't fail, and you can get those points, and that's okay. Weird question, but here algebra is just the best way.